Hey everybody, Papa Wiggs here with Wiggs. We're going to talk about week 2 sleepers for Sunday, Monday. For the Sunday, Monday games. And I'll jump right in. I'm going to start with Jason Smith,
Jackson Smith Najigba.
Jackson Smith Najigba, JSN. Seattle, they're playing
Patriots.
the Patriots this week. Sorry, I was drawing a brain fart there. So I think that JSN's gonna have a good game because I think the Patriots are gonna be all over DK. I don't you know DK could still have a good game, but I think JSN's gonna be a sleeper in this one. I really do think that he's gonna bounce back from last week's game, and it wouldn't surprise me if he has anywhere from 60 to 80 yards with a touchdown, and one of those being maybe like a 40-yard touchdown. My next pick here is Justice Hill. Baltimore is playing the Raiders. So listen, I think the Raiders defense is they're pretty good, even though they had a tough game last week. I still think Lamar's gonna have some struggles. And is going to have to kind of scramble. I see Justice Hill having another big game in the passing game this week because I think Henry probably isn't going to be able to, rush for that much. So he's my sleeper pick at running back. I think he could have, 60, 70 yards on, maybe, 6 or 7 receptions, mostly probably on third downs. I think JSN will probably have about six or 7 receptions too. Yeah, that's my number 2 pick. The third one, Wendell Robinson. They're playing against Washington this week. I think that I have him as a sleeper because I think that he's gonna have a lot of opportunities because I think as each game goes by, Neighbors is gonna be facing more double coverage. I still think Neighbors is gonna do well, but I think that Wendell is gonna have opportunities here, and he actually didn't do too bad in their first game against the Vikings. I think he's going to keep getting better. I'm really starting to like this combination of him and Neighbors. For the Giants, they just need to figure out their quarterback. But even with Danny Dimes, I still think he could have 60 yards on 5 or 6 catches and possibly a touchdown.
It goes to show that having a primary receiver helps your other talented receivers on the offense.
Absolutely. And both of those guys Neighbors and Robinson both are young. So the Giants are going in the right direction. They just need to figure out the QB situation. And then my next sleeper is Alan Lazard. Listen, he had 89 yards last week on 2 touchdowns. One of those was from
Tyrod Taylor in the last minute.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor in the last minute. But even with that being said, I think he's gonna be one of Aaron Rodgers' safety blankets all year because Aaron played with him in Green Bay. It wouldn't surprise me if he pops off for another 60 or 80 yards in this game. The Jets are playing the Titans. The Titans are going to, they got a pretty decent defense. Their corners aren't too bad. They're definitely going to be paying attention to Wilson on the other side there. So, like I said, I think he could have 70, 80 yards on, 6, 7 receptions. And then my last pick here, as you can see, I kind of a little wide receiver heavy this time on my sleeper picks. But my last pick is Tank Dell for the Texans. The Texans actually are playing at home against the Bears. The Bears actually did a pretty good job last week against.
I'm drawing the blank. The Steelers.
Against no, it wasn't the Steelers.
They played the Titans.
They played the Titans last week. I'm sorry, I should have had that, guys. Anyways, they played the Titans last week. They did a pretty good job on their receiving core. They got one of the better cornerbacks in the league, and I think Jalen Johnson. who just signed an extension, I believe, with them. I think he's going to be paying a lot of attention to Nico Collins. And even with Stefan Diggs, I think Tank Dell's got an opportunity here to, increase on what he did last week. Last week he had like 40 yards. This week I think Tank Dell could really get between 60, 80 yards on five or six catches because I think that Bears are going to be tough on Collins and Diggs. So that's my sleepers this week, Wiggs.
Yeah, going into mine, I'll start things on off here with Terry McLaurin of the Commanders. The reason I really picked Terry McLaurin is due to the fact that I personally think a lot of people are doubting him going into week two just after sluggish week one. Not that it's necessarily his fault. I think Jaden Daniels, at times was just trying to create a little too much with his feet, which don't get me wrong, he did a lot of good, positive work in the running game, but I just am nervous when it comes to the amount of targets McLaurin's going to get, but I do see him getting the ball a decent chunk in this offense. And Jaden Daniels even came out and said he needs to be looking for his receivers a little bit more. So I could totally see him settling down a little bit this game here and looking for his wide receivers. One thing Daniels needs to realize is he doesn't always have to do it with his feet. He can literally just extend plays to pass the ball. He doesn't necessarily have to run it every time, and I think that's where McLaurin's um, in-game IQ will help Daniels out because Lauren will run back to the ball or find a spot where someone like Jaden Daniels can get him the ball with ease. Because Terry McLaurin's a really smart player. He's hit 1,000 yards almost every single year, and there's a reason for that. He's got the IQ, and he's got the talent to get the ball.
Well, and don't discount the fact that they played the Buccaneers last week. The Buccaneers do have a really good defensive back field there. It doesn't surprise me that McLaurin struggled against them. And Daniel struggled against them. Their defense is underrated. They do have a solid
Yeah, they
defense.
don't have a bad one at all. It's just I just watching the game from what I saw, it just looks like Daniels wasn't really fully looking for his receivers every play. I think he was more focused on my first option's not open. I'm gonna have to run the ball rather than letting the play develop a little bit longer. And for someone like him, he kind of reminds me. I think I told you this the other day. Kind of reminds me of Josh Allen a little bit, like the capability of running the ball. And I think he showed a little bit of a spurt of throwing the ball really just to his running backs. But he's smart and he doesn't make mistakes yet. And that's yet it's super early in the season, but I think he's actually going to have a really good season. And once he gets more comfortable throwing his receivers the ball, I think it's going to be a really fun season to watch for Jaden
Well, and
Daniels.
it doesn't hurt that McLaurin usually eats on the Giants every single
Oh
year.
yeah. But moving on, I'm going to go with Lad McConkey. I think him and Herbert are just going to have a great year this year. I think the Chargers might pass the ball a little bit more than people expected. Not like a crazy amount, but I could totally see Herbert throwing 30 to 35 times a week. It's not going to be, his 40 plus that he really averaged last year, but I could totally see him throwing at least 30 times a game. And of those 30 throws, I think he's going to target McConkey a good 7 to 10 times every game. They showed a little bit of a connection last week. It's week one, so I don't think like the yardage behind the catches McConkey got were really there. But I think that's just because they were trying to get him into the flow of things as well as Herbert, who hasn't played in the preseason. So it'll be fun to watch. I think this week will show that McConkey's going to be his number one target. I actually have a feeling he's going to get that about like a 6 to 8. He's going to get about 6 to 8 looks here this week, and I think he's going to catch it for a solid chunk. And I could possibly see him getting a touchdown. Um, I think he's fun to watch. And Justin Herbert, from his time when entering the league, always knows how to find his receivers when he's throwing the ball. Someone's got to fill Keenan Allen's shoes, and I think McConkey could be a solid option. I don't think he'll fully fill the shoes, but I think he's still going to be the go-to guy. Anyone else in that offense, I feel like is a toss-up. Joshua Palmer should be the wide receiver too, but I could totally see it being someone else. Moving on from there, this might be the biggest hot take of my list right now, but I'm going to go Mike Williams. Last week he was super limited on reps. I think those reps will go up this week. I don't think it's going to go up a crazy amount. I'm thinking about 55% of the time he'll be on the field compared to his 20% that he had week one. The reason I really put him in here as a sleeper is I could totally see him getting a touchdown this week with 3 or 4 receptions. With that alone is like 11 points right there. Um, it doesn't have to be like a crazy game, but I could totally see him being one of those targets there in the red zone for Aaron Rodgers just because he is a really big body. Main focus is going to be on Wilson. They might even give Lazard a little more focus, and I think that could open up Williams quite a bit here. Not to mention you have to focus on Brees Hall. He's just got to find a hole and get the ball. That's really all it is. And with Aaron Rodgers there in the backfield, I could totally see that happening, even after a sluggish week one there from Rodgers. Moving on, Tajee Spears. I think this guy's still a beast. And after reading what their coach was saying, they want a more 50-50 share. It was really heavy towards Pollard. And I could totally see Spears coming out this week, getting the ball quite a bit more, rushing for a decent chunk, and then receiving a little bit more as well, because he really wasn't involved too much in that receiving game there in the first game. I don't even know if he had a reception. So I'm expecting at least 3 or 4 receptions, probably a good 40 yards rushing, maybe another like 20 to 30 there receiving, if not more. Should be more. He's really talented. I could see him going for 50 plus anytime. I think he's actually going to have a good week. I'm projecting him to have about 12 to 15 points here this week. And then lastly, Jameson Williams. I had him as my sleeper last week as well, and that panned out. 121 yards there, 1 touchdown. The Rams locked down St. Brown. No knock on St. Brown whatsoever. Jameson Williams had to fill his shoes basically and get open, and Goff found him several times in that game. I think he caught it 5 or 6 times there. One of them was a really long touchdown. So like he showed a spurt of brilliance in that game in my eyes, and I could totally see him having more games like that this year. And honestly, if he keeps doing what he just did in week one, I could totally see St. Brown and Williams having the connection like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle do with Tua.
Well, I'll give you that one this week, but if he has another good game this week, you can't use him as a sleeper
No, I
anymore
can't.
because he's in my eyes he's really a flex option.
Yep.
I mean, pretty pretty solid flex option, but
I just want to
I
see
can
what he
see
does
him.
behind
I can
St.
see
Brown.
him being I think he's gonna I think he's gonna have a good game this week against Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay is gonna be trying to lock down St. Brown. And their safeties are going to be focused on Laporta, so I can definitely see where Williams could have another good game. But if he has another good game, especially against the Buccaneers, you ain't
No,
using
I
him
won't
as a
be able
sleeper.
to. The main reason
I will throw the flag.
we should come up with a challenge flag for this. Make us change it on the spot.
Yeah,
That would be good for the video. But
no,
the reason I put him there is because I just want to see what he does when St. Brown has a good game. Like if St. Brown has a good game this week and Williams kind of goes back to being mediocre, it's like I don't know. Like I need to see more than just one
I
shining
don't think
moment.
that's going to happen. It's going to be something similar to the Giants and the other teams that have a solid wide receiver one. The second receiver is going to eat off of that.
And I hope that's the case because that'll both the value of Williams and St. Brown at that point will be really high because they're both. People got to cover them in man or run zone, and then if they run zone, you find the hole. If they cover you in man, you just got to burn your guy. Like both those guys are capable of doing it. It'd just be like Tyreek and Waddle at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. So Williams is an interesting one. What I'll give you on that is that I could definitely see him getting one reception for 60 plus yards from Rodgers because if he goes deep like he's done in the past, because that's what Williams is known for. That's what he did with the Chargers. If he breaks one deep and he gets any kind of room, Rodgers is going to find him, and it wouldn't surprise me that Rodgers takes at least one or two deep shots to him in the game, and if he connects on either one of them, then that's your sleeper right there.
Well, and I think he's just a big body in the red zone too, so you throw it up high, back in. I don't know. He's got the versatility to be used several ways, and I got a gut feeling that he's gonna score a touchdown this week. So
yeah. So, all right. Anything else to add, Wiggs?
Nope.
All right. Well, hey everybody. We hope you're enjoying the content. Check us out, Fantasy Fools PPR, YouTube. We're on Snapchat, X, Instagram, TikTok. Share, like, subscribe. If you got any questions or feedback, we're always open to that. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and hopefully you're finding this as another useful option for your fantasy football. And until next time, we'll see you.